The second combat update is the Minecraft community version of UFO sightings, where everyone keeps seeing signs and they're sure it's coming, but even if you don't believe in it, you can't help but be fascinated because Jeb started working on it in 2019 before releasing 9 snapshots saying that Phase 1 was going to be basically finished before working on Phase 2, which was based around mobs. Then there was an entire update about killing hostile mobs in the trial chambers. It even included a mega weapon, but the combat update was nowhere to be seen, and now we get to the point where there's another update with new weapons, and it even includes improved offhand functionality for Bedrock. But does it signal what is happening with the combat update V2? Well, that's what I want to answer today, because this is Q&A Saturday, the weekly series where I answer your questions about life, the universe, and most importantly, Minecraft updates, because we keep saying that this is Jeb's responsibility, but Fishy Salmon 02 asks the very valid question of, didn't Olraf say that Jeb have handed off development of the combat tests to him? The answer to this question is kind of like the answer to whether my parents love me, which is yes, but also no, because although you might have heard this, the actual timeline of this update is that in 2019, Jeb started working on it. In 2020, he said that he wanted to work on making hard difficulty more challenging and interesting, and crucially, that Phase 2 would be focusing on numbers and mobs. However, even though it was implied that he would be working on it, in 2021, Ulraf responded in a Mojang Discord server Q&A to say that he was excited to pick up work on the combat snapshots. He's had a few talks on it with Jeb, and there's definitely more they can do there, and he's excited to work on it together with the community. But then, interestingly, in 2022, we had this update from King B Dogs saying that it wouldn't just be Olraf, and this isn't anytime soon. The only information that is relevant is that the gameplay design team will be taking over the combat snapshot work at some point, but crucially that there was no ETA on when that would happen, and so what is being said here is that Jeb had some more work to do in 2022, and then at that point it was going to be the gameplay design team that took over. So whether it's them or whether it's Jeb, the crucial bit here is that there is no ETA on when it will happen, and so that means that we knew that year's update, and even the one after, weren't going to include new combat. But then with 2024's Tricky Trials, we started to see more and more tests come in, with the villager trading experiment, with later the redstone and minecart experiments, and so Mr. Sunny Muffins makes the very good point that for the combat update overhaul we need, it's very possible that now is the best time for Jeb to continue the snapshots. We only have 2 drops left, and 1.22 is possibly near, and may also be the best update to have the combat update overhaul in. Even to this day, people will still talk about things like this, and it's very true. I think that we are starting to get into that phase of the update where now people are starting to hate on every part of it. You know, the sorts of videos that just say Mojang are doing bad will start to get a bunch of views again, because a lot of people will say, yeah, these aren't major updates, they are smaller ones, and although all of the content combined is great, and it's great that it's regular, a lot of people do just want a big update to sink their teeth into, and although this isn't actually true in the reality, loads of people said that they would love the Tricky Trials update, but it fizzled out so quickly. Loads of people thought they would like the Wild update, but the amount of time it took to develop it caused some problems, and I think that this is where Minecraft's big problem is. People want major updates, but they don't like the time that it takes to deliver them, so what if there was something big behind the scenes that would allow them to do precisely this? And while we talk about big things happening behind the scenes, should we talk about weird things happening in front of them? Because I got quite a few comments asking me what was wrong with the Savannah Villager's arm, and at first my thought was, oh, Harrison did a funny thing for the thumbnail, I guess it's good for engagement if people are commenting, but then I realized, wait, isn't that a screenshot from the video? And I watched the video and it was true, and then I realized, oh, was I using, no, and I'm not using a texture pack. This is actually just how Savannah Villagers look in Snapshot 25W31A. It's not mentioned anywhere on the changelog, and it's really weird, but what's weirder is it's not just Savannah Villagers. If you get regular villagers, they are also looking like this now. I have no idea why this is true, but I can tell you that it is. Speaking of things that are weirdly true, I want to move into this next comment because Moody asks, why is there no F3 to Bedrock Man? Whereas a less moody response was this from Puzzle Gal. It's not clear whether it will come to Bedrock, but the upgrade in the F3 menu is the change I'm most looking forward to. And yeah, just to show you, if you haven't seen already, the F3 menu is massively improved on Java. You can now have way less information here if you want to, which is great, and you can customize what information shows on it and what information just always shows in the game. This can, I personally think having your biome on screen is great for creative players to work out when they move from one biome to another, and I love the fact that they are actually working on stuff like this, but I do want to go into Moody's question, which is, when is this coming to Bedrock? And the official answer is never. This is debug information. It's not meant to be seen by the end player. I mean, they just made a big update to make it much more visible to the end player if you want it to be. But yeah, right now the official answer is it doesn't need to come because it's debug information. And although this, I believe this exists in those unofficially recognized developer clients that Minecraft Bedrock has. It's something that isn't seen as necessary for the public version of the game, and so it's one of those weird things where, like, F3 isn't meant to exist. It's meant to be solely for developers to use and for players to help them debug things like this, but if everyone uses it anyway, does that become a Minecraft feature? I think if I was Mojang, I would say yes, but then the actually adding all these features to Bedrock would be unpopular. People would question, why is it there? Who is it there for? Literally 0.1% of players would use it, but if they don't do it, they have a weird parity issue on their hands, which is just one of those very fun issues that I guess we have here. So when can you expect F3 for Bedrock? Well, about the same time that the End gets an update, which, by the way, a lot of people still like to believe as well. You forgot the End update is going to come next year for its 10-year anniversary, and I mean, technically speaking, the End update came to snapshots as of, 2015 W31A, but you're right that the 1.9 actual full release anniversary would be 2026, and so will the End update be coming? Well, I've got this proof. It comes from our IBX Toycat and Physical Pickle, who says, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Mojang adds a heavily requested feature, like the bundle, and then there's a filler update. Then they add another heavily requested feature, like the Firefly, and then there's another filler update. We'll ignore that Vibrant Visuals was highly requested for literally years because of the super duper graphics, but then heavily requested feature in the form of Copper Tools and the Copper Golem, and therefore the Winter Drop will be filler, and that means that 1.22, the Spring Drop will be 2026, and this time for sure it must be the End update. And you've got to admit, this is a compelling argument that Minecraft does seem to do like TikTok, and when I say that, I don't mean putting pictures of wardens in the end, or indeed having promotion for armadillo duos, which are very fun, don't get me wrong, but instead their development pattern seems to go one on, one off. But actually, I'm going to go ahead and redefine this image and say that it's actually in reverse. Think about how tiny the Bundles of Bravery update was, and indeed Spring to Life as well, and consider that Garden Awakens was actually pretty big. A whole new biome, a whole new mega mob. Consider that Chase the Skies added vibrant visuals, and actually you'll see that these heavily requested features are the filler drops, and the main drops come in between them, which means that I would suspect that the Winter Drop 2025, or if we really insist, the Summer Drop of 2026, that's going to be when they maybe do something bigger. Will that be 1.22, or will it be some combat changes? Will it be some minor end changes, or will it be something else entirely? Well, the fun thing about the drop system is every time we think we are sure, we don't know. Even though it looks like, yeah, it's been 3 years now since we got a proper decent update on the combat update, and they said that, yeah, it's something that is going to happen at some point, and they've done experiments. Even with all of that evidence, I still feel like a UFO crazy alien conspiracy theorist saying, trust me, the aliens are going to come and take us all, and you're going to regret not having listened, because that is just how it feels on the inside. But do you know how else it feels on the inside? Well, apparently from the RIBX Toycat subreddit, NeoGirl61 says live from McDonald's, and I just want to say how cute it is to see, I think, the Long Boy and the Big Salmon plush both sharing a McDonald's burger. I don't know if it's necessarily hygienic or whatever, but what I do know is that it's fun, because I think there's literally 273 of those in the world, so it's still very cool to see, like, whatever they're up to. That is the cool thing about those limited edition runs, is, like, they are literally limited, and then they never appear again. But you know what else never appears again? Ultra Flat Survival, except actually that's the opposite. On this channel, I feel like we've done so many super flat survival streams, I can't stop myself from coming back, and now, you hear about these copper changes, and I think, ooh, could start making some copper armor there. But you know what else is fun? F1K 4K2319 says Super Flat Survival. Toycat inspired me to do a Super Flat Survival challenge on hard mode, and what's fun about this is they've actually played for 199 days on the Pocket Edition, and at first I thought this was kind of wild, but then I realized, actually, if you think about it, I think Super Flat Survival, because it is quite grindy, is perfect for like a phone game to play maybe while you watch TV or a podcast or whatever. Nowadays there's a lot of content that is basically designed with the idea that you're not watching it in mind, and so actually, maybe this is the perfect way to do it. Of course, I would still heavily recommend checking out Ultra Flat Survival. Did you know it just got an update? You can see on the store if you want to. We've actually added full support for hardcore. It didn't work because we had to kill you before. We've made it so the biomes are slightly updated, so you'll get all of the wolf variants if you want them, and also, as with every update, you'll get more current features, which is always a good thing. Speaking of always a good thing, Elliot Burton says 927, No Man's Sky does this after hype instant on release. They are referring to, in my video, when I mentioned that I think if Minecraft are working on a brand new game, either it's on a massively delayed time span, 2027 or 2028, or they're going to do what Oblivion Remastered or Apex Legends did, which is to just release it without any fanfare and say, oh, by the way, it's out. This is something that I think would reflect the Minecraft brand more broadly, because if we look at how Mojang have really turned it around in the last year, I mean, that video I showed you only got 32,000 views. If this was 2023, they'd be getting hundreds of thousands of views for saying that Mojang were lazy, because actually, people really hate this gap between announcing of something and the release of something, because the uncertainty causes people to imagine it as being really good and really soon, and then they get bored of it before it's even come out. This is why the best way to counteract that, like many games are starting to do, is just say, oh, by the way, it's here, here's what's inside if you want to play it. No hype, just, whoa, guess what, it's ready. This is something that works for many games, like No Man's Sky, and like Elliot Burton says, no one complains about their updates now. This is the thing that works really well for Minecraft drops. There is literally about a 3-month period, it takes, or rather I should say, there's a 1-day period between when a feature is announced and when it comes to drops, literally sometimes even less than that, and then it's about 6 to 10 weeks between an update coming to a drop and it being in the game. Whereas if Mojang were working on 1.22, the snapshots and betas from the entire last year of content since Tricky Trials, that is all of the Bundle of Bravery, all of the Garden Awakens, all of Spring to Life, and all of the, the summer drop, all of that would have just come out in June, and then we'd have seen nothing from now until next year. You can see how crazy that is by comparison, and I think that's one of the reasons why the update system has to happen in the background while they work on drops now, because I think people can't go back to this idea of like, yep, no new content for 11 months, we're working on an end overhaul or a combat overhaul or whatever, and that's why I think that if there is an update happening, I'll concede, I don't know what it is, I would love to believe it's the combat update, but I'd also love to believe that aliens are out there, like, not in the sense that I want to believe they're out there and haven't found us, that's terrifying. I want to believe we're either alone in the universe, or there are aliens and they know about us, and somehow they are benevolent and they either want to give us, like, room to grow. I think one of the most prevalent theories about aliens is that if they do exist, they're leaving us like a nature reserve, letting us grow by ourselves, work out our own rules, and maybe when we go intergalactic, they can see, are we safe enough to be handled? Actually, that's a scary scenario too. I like the idea of being alone, but I also like the idea that there's some aliens looking out for us if something really bad ever happens, and maybe that's why we've avoided all sorts of asteroids and major life-ending events. But that is me wildly speculating, and that is something we only do for Minecraft updates here on this channel. More seriously though, I do want to say I've been playing a lot of the RL Craft this week. I don't know if you've noticed, but I got a comment from Bug Boy saying, dear God, Bedrock players really are willing to shill to Mojang because this stuff is completely free on Java, and it has to be said that this is a bit of an interesting trade-off, because while RL Craft is free on Java, it means that the creator of it doesn't make any money, whereas now, because there are hundreds of thousands of people enjoying it and being willing to pay, now he's actually being able to be compensated for his idea that is clearly so popular. Is that something that you think is good or bad? Obviously, it sucks that you have to, as the end user, pay, and it sucks that most of that money is not going to the creator, it's going to whatever platform you're playing on or whatever else. But ultimately, I think the idea of paid content is something that a lot of people do seem to like. This is a weird thing, but even though I think that I, and presumably you, and many others have grown onto the internet where things are free and that is the expected way, many people now kind of see the idea that, like, yeah, actually paying for a bit of convenience is worth it. We do it in every other aspect of our life, right? Like, I think fast food is the easiest example. People are paying to get their time back, even though you can cook a better burger at home, and so are you going to criticize those people for shilling to McDonald's when you can get it for completely free by driving to your parents' house? Well, I mean, I guess that's a different argument for a different day, but I'd like to end this video on a more positive note, so here is one last fun thing I want to share from the RIBX Toycat subreddit. It seems to be growing quite a lot recently, there's a bunch of posts there, but I enjoyed this because it was just a small project they wanted to do for a long time, and it's the sort of thing that I love to see. They wanted to take their beach and replace it with concrete powder, and they made it into black concrete powder, and you can see that it looks kind of volcanic, which is really, really cool. And I just want to encourage you, if you have any fun survival projects, please do share before and afters. I love seeing it in this format, and that is why I wanted to give it a little bit of a shout out here. But you know what else I want to give a shout out to? The Mojang gameplay design team. That's right, you guys are doing great work there, but if we could see it sometime soon, that would be great. Anyway, with that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like it if you liked it, share if you really liked it, and consider subscribing to see more of these videos daily on your homepage, because I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.